Okay, so first thing you have to do is just say your name and spell it for the titling.
Greg Garrison, G-R-E-G-G-A-R-R-I-S-O.
Okay. You'll just look at me the whole time and we'll have a little chit chat. So today is the 22-year anniversary
Yeah.
of that verdict being read, February 10th. Backing up to that, how did you get to be the prosecuting attorney for the Mike Tyson trial? How did that happen?
I think I was the guy that forgot to say no. I was doing civil work for that prosecutor, Jeff Modisett, and I had been working for him since he took office because I had worked for his predecessor, Steve Goldsmith, actually. And at some point early, his chief deputy, Dave Dreyer, asked me if I'd be interested in coming back just to try that case. I think the logic being that I'd been through what we thought were high-profile cases. Little did we know, we had no clue what high-profile really meant until we got to this thing. But death penalties and some white-collar stuff. So they wanted to know if I would do it, and I said, and I quote, "When donkeys fly." And he laughed and said, okay. So I was back in the office a week, 10 days later, and the boss asked me to come in because Dreyer was working on me still. He had said some more things, and so they ganged up on me in the prosecutor's private office and started telling me their facts. And of course, the juices start to flow a little bit when you're thinking about something that was really as brutal as that was. And I mean, most of my experience had been with rapes like that. Somebody didn't survive because homicide was what I was mostly involved in. And so I made the mistake of listening to them for a while. They were very passionate about their evidence, and they were right. They had a lot more than anybody thought they had because they'd been good boys and girls and kept their mouths shut, which a lot of these nincompoops don't do. They're too busy trying to be in the public eye, and they were very professional and didn't say anything. Besides which fact, Judge Gifford would have probably put them in jail if I started talking. So, because that's what she told me she'd do to me if I talked out loud.
So what was your hesitancy to take the case? I mean, why didn't you
I had
jump on it?
two small children at home, and I'd been married for a couple of years that time, second time. Lived up in the country, was busy in the practice, and I just knew that there was the proclivity toward circus. We'd just seen William Kennedy Smith and what a hoot that was, and we knew just because you watch, and you know, an eye for public litigation, that it can tend to turn very silly very fast. There was always a little bit of concern. The big boys were in it from New York and actually from Washington. And Vincent Fuller was a man with an enormous reputation, one which he deserved. He wasn't a street lawyer, which we can talk about at some point, but it's a big undertaking. I mean, it took me away. I was gone, trying to practice here, trying to make a living, but then having 55 or 56, 60 witnesses. See, these kids came in from all over the country, so we had Miss Black America contestants from everywhere. I think there were, I'm going to say 30 or better of them. And some of them didn't know anything. Some of them weren't in the room at the right time. But most of them did because the initial contact between Tyson and Miss Washington was in a rehearsal, so that pretty much everybody was there. And so we took depositions all over creation, and it was just what I thought it would be. It was, I mean, I lost weight, I didn't sleep, I got sick. Hemorrhaged an eardrum, flying in an unpressurized aircraft to Atlanta to interview a witness down there. And got down so far that we had a friend who was a ENT, a ear, nose, and throat specialist, met me in my cousin's kitchen and gave me some meds to save myself so I would be able to be right side up when it finally hit. And that was close on the trial. The trial started, I think, the 27th or the 27th, and I was just back on my feet. But you know, you got sick, but I couldn't stop. That's what I knew was going to happen, and it did.
So take for the people that don't remember, high level, what was the case and who are you prosecuting and what happened?
In connection with Black Expo, for a number of years, and I don't know how many, there had been a Miss Black America beauty pageant. that was just like Xanadu, of course, except it was all young black women. High school seniors, I think, and up. And Tyson was here to do promos and to hype the Black Expo. Danny Glover has been there, big names in black entertainment had been there, and for some reason somebody thought that he would be a good idea. And he had just an insatiable, at least curiosity, if not appetite, for these girls. Angela Boyd was in town. She was an R&B singer. Stage name was BNGB. A beautiful woman, and apparently very talented. I never saw her perform, but he dated her while he was here. They were together for a couple of days, all the time. And at some point, he and she were apart. He went to a rehearsal. This is 22-year-old memory, okay, but he'd go to this rehearsal and he starts talking to the girls, and I think he may have got some pictures taken. And he asked for, maybe other numbers I don't know, but he asked for Desiree Washington's phone number. So she gave it to him. Now she's 17. She's 5'7" and 106 pounds. She's a senior, it's just finished her senior year in high school, was going into Providence College. She came from a boxing family. Both her dad and her brother were huge boxing fans and great big Mike Tyson fans. So he was commonplace in their home. It's a thing that a lot of folks, okay, here's the gold digger wanting to go out with the big boy. Well, him being big was a thing that was family business. And she couldn't wait to tell her dad that Mike Tyson asked her for the phone number. I don't know if that conversation happened in advance or not. He leaves, time passes, and either that night or the next night, he ended up calling her and asking her to go out with him. Be sure to bring her camera, he said, we'll go see the sights. They have these things called after parties that young people know about, and I don't, but you go to these places and there are celebrities that are there. Probably Angela Boyd was among them. And he was going to take her out to those. Now, he took her back to Canterbury Hotel instead. I don't think they went to any parties. And they went up to his room, and very quickly things turned south. And he became aggressive and physical with her, pinned her to the bed, tore the garment she was wearing, ripped her underwear off of her, and raped her. She was then asked by him if she wanted to stay all night with him, which was probably at that point nothing that sounded particularly good to her. And she said no, and she picked up her shoes and put her clothes on and left. Went back to the hotel, I forget which one they were at, but every hotel downtown was full of kids for all this stuff. And went to the shower, which they do. It's a pretty common characteristic of rape victims. Whether it's been some stranger in an alley or what they call date rape, it's very common for them to be trying to wash this stuff away. Finally, some of her roommates and the girls that she was competing with began to pester her a little bit to find out what happened, and she confided to a couple of them what had occurred. They called her mother, who then made her way from Providence. Got her into the ER. They did a rape kit on her, did a female exam, and she was hurt. She showed evidence of abrasions, a couple of them. And from that point on, she managed to tough it out and make it through the rest of the competition. He left town. He was actually cruising 2 nights. The night that this happened was the second of the 2. And he had a white limousine one night and a black limousine the other night, which ended up being an interesting wrinkle because a bunch of folks thought they'd seen things they didn't see because they saw the wrong colored car.
Oh.
And it was one of those interesting pieces that only happens in real life courtrooms. It's hard to write those down in advance.
Yeah.
He got away. She went to police. They began to investigate. Jack Reinhardt got wind of it some way, as Jack is wont to do, and pretty soon broke the story. He came back to town. He went before the grand jury, which shocked a lot of people. Told his story, same one he told at trial. And they eventually indicted him. It takes, well, I'm going to get this wrong, I think it takes it takes 4 votes to indict. There's 6 people on the jury. They got enough, and they indicted him. Vincent Fuller got in the game from Washington, D.C. firm. Jim Voiles was local counsel, and away they went. Now, at this point, I heard about it in the car headed on vacation in the summertime. And so I didn't pay attention to it. I mean, I thought, okay, another one of those. Probably go nowhere. Big motions practice, they did all kinds of stuff. I didn't get into the game until October. There were still some of the motions practice still pending.
So when was the Black Expo? Was that
I want to say August, either July or August.
So how long did it take between the time that the incident occurred until the time the grand jury?
A couple of months, I think.
Was it?
They seemed to move pretty quickly. Well, he was under indictment and motions practice was going on when I got in, and I didn't get in until October. So we started to work.
So it started in October for you. You kind of got involved in October.
Yep.
And so when was the trial itself?
Trial started January 27th. Got a verdict on December the 10th. We're off 1 day and 2 weeks until the athletic club got caught on fire. We got another day off then, because that's where the jury was staying. And pretty scary day. Lost a couple firemen.
Yeah.
And that one, and a big flashover, just grabbed them. We tried to keep that from the jury, but a couple of days later, when they had funerals for the firemen that had died, somebody looked outside and saw the flash at half-staff.
Oh.
And they put 2 and 2 together, like jury will do.
Yeah.
We got that. We worked Monday through Saturday, and then Monday through. We got Sunday off that first week, and then we worked Monday and Tuesday, and it seemed like the fire was Wednesday, and I think we sort of count the days right. It was 15 days. Friday or Saturday was final arguments and a verdict.
So
it was a week they had it either Friday or Monday. I can't remember which.
Yeah. So it was. Take me through the trial. I mean, I've heard stories about why they think you won. That the evidence, even though you felt like you had a lot of evidence, it was still all circumstantial. Her versus him. It was his word against her word, essentially. There wasn't a lot of evidence. I mean, there was some. Nobody. They weren't denying the fact that he had intercourse with her.
Correct.
But what they were saying was consensual, and it was just her word against his. So, how did you build that case?
Well, I mentioned to you before, her clothing was torn. She had vaginal abrasions. We went and got and that was clear because they'd done some stainings, and we had the doctor that was the ER doc that examined her, testified in the trial. We went to a reproductive endocrinologist, the baby doctor, guy at IU, and talked to him about the consistency of Tyson's story versus the vaginal injuries and what she had said. And his, I'll never forget, his conclusion on the stand was that her injuries were extraordinarily inconsistent with the consensual act. Because that's not supposed to hurt. It wouldn't happen if it did. That's why I would propagate the race, And so that was big news. They put a woman endocrinologist, reproductive, I should say, endocrinologist on, or maybe she was an OB, I forget which, but she tried to talk that away, but the cross-exam went pretty well because she just wasn't as strong as our guy was. And Desiree was a wonderful witness. Trial got started, we did opening statement, and we called her as our first witness. And she was dressed beautifully, and Sunday go to meeting close. She's a Sunday school teacher. I mean, she's a sweet kid, and she's just a wisp of a woman, tall, kind of tall, very slender, elegant looking. And there was an audible gasp that went through the whole room when she walked in to see him over there, 260 at that time, because he got hurt, so he wasn't training, so he picked up a bunch of weight, and he's a big man anyway. And so they're looking at him, and here comes this wisp of a woman. Still looks like a kid to all the dads and the moms in the room. And she just was wonderful. They couldn't touch her on the cross.